Well, hello, everyone. I want to officially welcome you to TheBrain, a Big Thinker web series entitled Visualizing Complex Triple Helix Collaborations. And I'll let Conrad Clyburn explain what Triple Helix is. Using personal brain and Web 2.0 to connect the dots between life sciences, medical research, people, and venture capital. Should be a very interesting session today. I'd like to let you introduce Matt Caton. Some of you know Matt is on the other line as Q&A and responsible for recording our seminar, and give a big welcome to Conrad Clyburn. Conrad is the co-founder and senior partner of the Clyburn Group, associate director of ISIS Center, Georgetown University, and former special assistant to the U.S. Army Telemedical Research and Advanced Technology Center. His brain is the basis of Medtech IQ Sight Brains, a very popular up-and-coming social networking site for medical community. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Conrad Clyburn and have him take you through his brain.
Thank you very much, Shelley. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, you sound great.
Great. Okay, well, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to share the brain and what we're doing with the Medtech IQ social network in integrating Web 2.0 social media tools along with a sight brain. A little bit of a background on myself is I have been involved with the development of medical technologies now for well over 20 years. Initially in the Department of Defense, and more recently at Georgetown University. The Clyburn Group is a small strategic consultancy group that also develops internet properties to advance the translation of medical technology from pioneering academic researchers to small colonizing businesses that create products from their research and create the initial new markets for medical technology. We also work with large consolidating companies that have global reach in terms of distribution, marketing, and access to public capital, and intermediaries. This would include angel investors, venture capitalists, and strategic corporate investors that allow these technologies to become helps in our lives to create better medical outcomes. The way I first became involved with the brain was very serendipitous. I happened to had an opportunity to have dinner with Dr. Ray Kurzweil, who's a well-known inventor of Kurzweil music synthesizers and speech recognition and optical character recognition systems, and also an author of The Spiritual Machines and The Singularity is Near. And I was complaining to him about how I was feeling overwhelmed by the work that I and some of my partners were doing, helping to manage the Department of Defense Advanced Technology Research portfolio, which at the time included well over 300 projects. And he suggested that I try a tool that he used called the personal brain. And I had no idea what he was talking about, but the next day I went to his webpage, and for the first time I saw it and was fascinated by the ability to download information into it and then to establish connections between various thoughts. It was a few months later where I felt even more overwhelmed that I actually began first to put our projects into the brain, and in that process began to realize that there were connections between different elements of our portfolio. that certain universities had particular strengths in medical technologies. Certain businesses tended to acquire or license that technology. Those businesses, in turn, which were usually small, tended to be acquired by larger companies that then actually created the mass markets for the research that began the whole process. We also noticed that there were certain venture capitalists that tended to invest in certain areas. And this was information to us that was, I would call, emergent. It wasn't in a book anywhere. There weren't databases, this information readily available. It more emerged through the connections that the brain allowed us to see. So about 3 years ago, I and my two partners, Colonel Jeffrey Roller, who's a physician, and Colonel Greg Mogul, who is a physician also. I'm not. I'm more of a tech transfer program manager. Began to, in earnest, to populate the brain. And at this point, brain is 55,000 or more thoughts. It covers researchers around the world that commit themselves to breaking new ground in medical technology, small businesses broken down by market sector that take those new technologies and create products out of them, the large consolidating companies that usually acquire these smaller companies and generate mass markets in new medical technology, and the risk capital, venture capitalists, angels, incubators that facilitate the movement of these technologies from discovery straight through to bedside use, helping patients to get better. What you see right now on your screens is our brain in the wander mode, is randomly picking out thoughts and just showing those. One of the things that also we've done in the last 3 or 4 months is to integrate the brain now that we can create sight brains that are accessible online, and to integrate it with social media tools. This now allows us not only to create brains, but to share those brains with the community. And if you watch your screens, I'm going to now move to Medtech IQ. Medtech IQ is a social network community where we can create, discover, manage, and share medical technology information. It's meant to connect the dots between academic researchers, industry, and government that funds most of this research. You'll see that we have members. This is in beta form at this point, and right now we have 186 members. We're very pleased to have as our members Shelley Haydock from the Brain, and Matt Caton, and Harlan Hugh. But the 186 members are from all around the world who tend to be experts in medical technology, information technology, investors that are looking for new medical technologies. We have got a series of tools that allow our members to share information, groups that are focused on individual components of medical technology, blogs and hot topics. There is a meeting capability to track meetings that are occurring around the world, real-time chat, and then maybe most interesting, a sight brain that is connected behind the social network that displays a plex in a particular area. This particular sight brain is focused on venture capital. It's the same type of SightBrain that you'll see on your desktop personal brain. At this point, will allow people who are interested in venture capital related to medical technology investing to see what venture capitalists invest in particular types of technologies, whether it's biotechnology or telemedicine or electronic health records or surgical robotics, and then provides background information on those venture capitalists, the companies they've invested in, where those companies are, and in some cases it might go so far as to show where the technology that the company is currently commercializing, where it came from, what university it originally came from. One of the things we really like about the SightBrain is that it not only shows the Plex, but also allows you to attach a web page to the Plex, so that in this case, not only do we have information on angel investors and venture capital, et cetera, but also a Wikipedia page that gives one background on venture capital, what it is, what the common practices are in the United States, in Canada, Europe, India, China, Vietnam, Italy, and makes for a much richer experience for our community. Now, what I'd like to do is just to give you a quick demo of the way that we use the brain. This is our home thought. Medtech IQ is a one-step biointermediary, and we use the brain to organize all this information, the 55,000 thoughts. So we have a framework for the thoughts. We've broken them down into essential elements. Those are the academic pioneers, the government research pioneers and intermediaries, and the industry colonizers and consolidators. If we were to take one of those elements, academic pioneers, those are mainly universities and various types of research centers around the world. We've broken those down further so that we can look at the universities by state, by country. A particularly rich state is Massachusetts in terms of the numbers of universities that are in the state, and perhaps the best known of those universities would be Harvard University in Massachusetts. These are different characteristics of Harvard. It's number one in terms of its endowment. It's number 11 in terms of the biotech patents that it produces each year. We are particularly interested, say, in Harvard Medical School. And here are some of the characteristics of Harvard Medical School. And you can see that Harvard Medical School is a partner of something called CIMMYT. CIMMYT is the Center for Integrating Medicine and Innovative Technologies. And then we could work our way up to CIMMYT, the center, and can see the types of things that CIMMYT is involved in. So CIMMYT has various research programs, an engineering and medical devices program, which we would be very interested in, a ICU, an intensive care unit of the future program, an operating room of the future program. Here are some of the different things that they're doing and some of the key people involved in that. Dr. David Ratner, for example, is a key person, a surgeon, that would make him one of the key people that we would track around the world who are really making a difference in surgical technology. And then that leads to other key people in science and technology around the world, broken down by their areas of specialty. see if I can pick up some information from the RSS feeds that are part of the social network on a new company and show you how we can add knowledge to the brain on the fly. So we're back to Medtech IQ, and we can see, that there are people around the world, around the country, that are part of Medtech IQ. Those little flashing stars are people who are online right now. This is Matt Caton's brain. If anybody wants to look later on at what Matt's brain looks like, this is a video of his brain. And one of the things that we track is the 100 top English language medical blogs in the world at all times. And one of our favorites is MedGadget. We'll go to MedGadget and see what's new on MedGadget. And let's see, MedGadget has a few new technologies. And this one looks interesting. TomoPhase has come out with a new optical coherence tomography system. So what we'll do is we'll capture, cut and paste TomoPhase. We'll go back to the brain. We'll do a quick search. On optical coherence tomography. Capture it again. So in the medical technology space, we refer to optical coherence tomography as an OCT. We do a quick search on OCT. We'll look at companies involved in that, and we see that TomoPhase, we don't have a record of TomoPhase yet in the market. So we'll create an entry for TomoPhase. TomoPhase now is one of our small businesses that we know are in that market, and we'll go a little bit further and we'll connect TomoPhase to research in hyperspectral and multispectral imaging. Here are some of the research projects of note in that area. And so just that quickly, we've been able to add to our knowledge base. One of the other things we like about the brain a lot is the ability to integrate URLs with the information. So if we were to look at one company in this space, ChemImage, we can click the icon, and here we are. We're at the ChemImage updated web page, and we can do additional research on the fly on that particular company. So that's a quick overview. I think I've taken up about 20 minutes, and what I really was interested in is getting some feedback and answering any questions that you may have. Shelley, is that a pretty good overview? Does that cover the types of things you were looking for?
Conrad, that was great, and we do have a number of questions. So I'm going to start from the basics. And a lot of people have written in wondering, how many people it takes for you to maintain this brain, and how did you get started creating the brain, and how you manage it. So I'll let you sort of speak to your process for adding information, how you got started, and where all this stuff was before it was in the brain.
This was a very organic process. I was trying to solve a problem initially of keeping track of way too many projects for my carbon-based organic mind. And in that discussion I had with Ray Kurzweil that night, he kind of recommended that I try to put it all into a in silico mind, in a computer-based mind. So we initially started out taking information that was readily available in the more conventional records that we had, and it very rapidly expanded beyond that initial database, and started to involve searches on the internet for relevant information that could very easily be reduced down to thoughts that were categories of thoughts, and now has evolved to the point where we have probably about a dozen RSS feeds that constantly update us and inform us on developments in areas of interest to us. We depend upon constantly monitoring blogs that are in our space, and our business model for the Clyburn Group and Medtech IQ in the long run is to work with the community of experts that have formed around Medtech IQ so that they will constantly update brains. Now, one of the other aspects that I haven't shown yet that I'll take this opportunity to show you is that we set it up so that each of our specialty groups in the social network, we'll go back to Medtech IQ, and you'll see that Medtech IQ starts out with the members. We have the learning component, which are the multimedia clips. There's about over 200 multimedia clips on new developments in medical, technology, or business arenas. We have the blogs that we track, and then you'll see the RSS feeds. These are RSS feeds on academic funding of the blogs. We tap into the Journal of American Medical Association and New England Journal of Medicine. And then we have these groups. About a dozen groups. And if we were to look at, let's say, the telemedicine group, you see that the telemedicine group has its own brain. Now, and maybe I should rephrase that. It has one view of the brain, so that that group can work with that particular brain and create, discover, manage information that's relevant to them, and then we feed that into the overall brain. And so as we move into the future, what we would love to see, what heaven would look like, would be about a dozen individual brains that then feed a collective brain on medical technology. Does that make sense?
It does. And Cece, we're actually getting a lot of questions on integration. So I want to take a minute and sort of let people know kind of where you are with your plans with your social networking site and your brain, and kind of what level of application really anyone attending this seminar can do. There's a lot of questions around your site brains and how you maintain them. So first of all, what I'd like to let everyone know is, anyone who has Personal Brain Pro, when they create their own brain, can simply export that to HTML and then post a brain on your website. And what you're looking at now on Medtech IQ is exactly that. It's a real testament to, I think, what a great thinker Conrad is and what an expert he is in this space, because really what he's done here is he has amassed over his years of using personal brains so much expertise and knowledge, and it's all in structured information that's just come from his head, from meeting people. This is really his thinking, and then he's published that out to his group. Now, there are additional levels of integration that TheBrain and Medtech IQ will be pursuing, and that you can pursue beyond sort of the organic capturing of your knowledge, and that does include dynamic database visualization. So if you had an existing database of medical research or medical knowledge, we can connect to that through JDBC and dynamically visualize that content. We also have various APIs and software development kits. So if there's some other component to your application, and this application could be a social networking site, it could be really anything else, you can embed a brain and have it also operate in a more dynamic fashion. And I think what's really intriguing to people, Cece, is the fact that the foundation of your brain being so large and expansive is really your own thinking and your own authoring. How did you get started on creating a brain like this? Was there a particular area of research, or was it more about capturing the people you meet? What did your brain look like sort of at phase one?
I think that's a good question. At phase one, the issue was that using conventional tools, I was getting to that point where I just could not connect all the different bits of information that I was having to manage in an efficient way. I couldn't visualize it. There were databases that were heterogeneous, that were non-interoperable in different places. There was information on the internet that was relevant to my areas of concern that were not connected to the kind of in-house computer systems and databases that I was dependent upon. And the brain offered a environment where I could bring all those things together. The things that were on my hard drive in the form of files, applications that were on the network, information that was constantly emerging and evolving on the internet, all could be captured and rendered in reasonable fashion, all in one environment, which was the brain. So that's how, at the conceptual level, I got started. And then at the operational level, I already had a significant amount of information in my space that it took, a significant amount of time to actually upload. This was a process of a little bit every day for a number of months before I think I hit critical mass. And that critical mass was probably at the level of a few thousand thoughts. And that's when I realized in a emergent way that this was much more than just documenting and filing away a bunch of information. This was adding another dimension of connectivity and context to what information I had, and I started to see patterns. And that's when I realized that, at least in the medical technology space, that this had the power to connect information across sectors that weren't readily apparent when you were just looking at them as flat databases or as collections of paper-based files. That actually there was a dynamic life cycle that connected academia, industry, and government in the area of how medical technology goes from a good idea in a lab somewhere to actually saving someone's life next to their bedside. So that's kind of the simple story of how that evolved. I'd like to make one other comment, though, which is that architecturally, I think we're already beginning to see some challenges. And over time, we may end up having to adopt and embrace, say, an EKP, a enterprise knowledge platform approach to using these technologies in the brain, where the individual brains that the groups work with are truly independent brains that a collection of subject matter experts are working with that then feed into a collective brain. And that's one of the structural things I think we'll have to confront as this brain grows. Right now it's at 55,000 thoughts. If it were to, say, double to 100,000, I think we would have to go to probably an EKP solution, if that makes sense.
Right, and just to add to that, and for the attendees' benefit, just to let you know, if that were to happen, if CC decides I want to change the game and take my brain and move it into brain EKP, all the work that he's done in this brain, that all his thoughts and connections within the personal brain can easily be imported into brain EKP. So I think the interesting thing here is that there are many different sort of modes of communication of your brain. Of course, you can use it on your desktop. You can publish it as a sight brain and post it on your website. You can connect dynamically to various data sources. So I think that's a good thing. And for those of you that don't have, database administrators and some sophisticated IT backends, I think the other end of this that we haven't really looked at is how you can build your own expertise. And what I'd really like everyone else to get out of the call today is the fact that this is something that really just started out as a one-man vision in conjunction with his partners, and it's grown to so much more. And we do hear that all the time, where you start with an area that you're passionate in, your life mission, your calling, where your expertise lies, and it's amazing how quickly these connections grow and how powerful this structure has become. And in fact, Cece, we had a couple questions about different thoughts in your brain. So I'm going to ask you a two-part question now. First of all, what areas in your brain do you use the most? What are your favorite thoughts? And then Ed Garrison had a question. He had just seen teledentistry, and he's wondering what in the world teledentistry is, and if you could go to that thought and comment on that particular thought in your brain as well.
Sure. Now, could you repeat the first question again?
Sure. Just really, we're interested in knowing where you spend your time in your brain. What are some of your favorite sections or areas in your brain?
Okay, that's a good question. And then I want to get to the teledentistry one also. I think probably the area I find most interesting, well, there are two. One is the colonizers. These are the small businesses that commercialize medical technology. They're the ones that take the good idea in a lab that's one of a kind and make it into a product that can actually be sold. This is a very dynamic area. So if I were to look at, let's say, medical devices, this is constantly changing. It's a very diverse area. One of the areas that I really started out in was in telemedicine, and what I can do is really kind of track how the field is evolving and growing, and I'm constantly learning in this area. So, for example, in telemedicine, if you want to kind of subdivide it, you can get down into remote monitoring, home health, and disease management type companies. One of the most successful has been this company, VisiQ. VisiQ, I watched VisiQ go from a good idea by a bunch of guys up at Johns Hopkins. They came to us while I was working with the Department of Defense. We gave them some funding to do a pilot program in Walter Reed in Washington. It worked. They expanded their applications around the country. They initially did an IPO, a public offering, and became a public company, say about 3-4 years ago. And then most recently were bought by Philips Medical Systems. And I can't remember the amount, but it was a large amount. It was, maybe $150, $160 million. And to be able to watch that evolve and to be able to kind of track how that all happened in the brain has been fascinating. So VisiQ, they got the venture capital from a Cardinal portfolio, Cardinal Partners. We're able to see that Cardinal Partners didn't just invest in VisiQ, but also in some other companies in the telemedicine space. And then we can look at companies that bear similarities to it could be a very fascinating area. The other area that I think is very interesting is the venture capital space. So if we go back to VisiQ as an example of a successful group, this is you can see VisiQ now is a Philips healthcare company. They are reflecting their recent acquisition. Let's see if there's some good pictures of what they do. Yeah, VisiQ is a set of computers that go into an ICU that allow a doctor at one location to manage an ICU patient somewhere distant. So at one point when Dr. Roller, Dr. Mogul, and I were working in the military, we were funding a VisiQ effort where the doctor was in Hawaii and the patients were in Guam, which is literally thousands of miles away. And now a number of clinical trial studies have shown that that is an effective way to manage ICU patients, that is just as effective as having a doctor right by their bedside. So that area of tracking the small companies has been very fascinating. And the other area is venture capital, to watch how money moves. And I used to look at venture capital companies as all just venture capital companies. But now I realize that they all are specialists. And if you, one of the things that we do at the Clyburn Group is to help small businesses get funding. And we're able to target them to the right people because of this tool. So that we know that if they are doing something in medical informatics or telemedicine, that they may want to go to one of these specific companies. And we might even be able to get more specific, that a particular company is interested in just a specific area within medical informatics. Now, the other question that was raised was in teledentistry. So I'm going to do a quick search in the brain for teledentistry, and I'm not absolutely sure what it's going to say. One of the beauties of the brain is that bicarbonate-based brain forgets things, but the in silico brain never forgets anything. So I don't remember what is in the brain on teledentistry, so we're going to go there, see what it says. And we see that I've got teledentistry under a technology transfer success. This is a program that started out in the Army. This is Army Medical Department teledentistry. It uses, at the time, desktop-based video conferencing where dentists can help a dental tech at another location do dental procedures. This is particularly interesting in the military because you can't have a dentist everywhere on the battlefield, but people, even in combat, get bad toothaches. And so this was a way for dentists at one location, say in Germany, to help a dental tech that might be somewhere in Iraq or Afghanistan, help soldiers take better care of their teeth and their dental problems. Does that answer it?
It does. Thank you. Okay, and of course we have several more questions for you, Cece, so I'll start firing them off to you. One is from Al, and the question is, along the way, did you need to restructure the increasing number of links, and how was that overcome? So maybe you could spend a little time talking about your editing process, and if you ever got into any areas where they had to be restructured as the brain grew or anything like that.
That is a very insightful question. And yes, I did, I would say 2 or 3 times, have to kind of rethink the way the thoughts were organized. And that would be probably one of the most important lessons learned that I would pass on to the rest of the brain community, is that as you begin to build these large brains, to do some real soul searching and to work, if possible, with a team of trusted associates to come up with what your framework is for the thoughts that you are populating the brain with. I think it was probably at about the 3,000 or 4,000 thought level that I realized that I wasn't capturing things correctly, because, as you may recall, I started out thinking just project management, and it evolved to, no, this is a framework for a whole ecosystem. And I had to kind of rethink the way that I had organized the thoughts. It wasn't that bad at 2,000 or 3,000 thoughts. I think I had to do it again at about 10,000 thoughts as my thinking evolved. And that was more challenging. Fortunately, I haven't had to do that again as it's gotten very large. But that is the human side of the brain technology, that you really have to kind of decide almost what it is you want to build, and then fill in the architecture, the blueprint, with the bricks, which are the thoughts. But you can't just throw the thoughts in there willy-nilly and get the most out of the tool.
I think what we're learning here is there's no magical way that these brains come together. The brain really is a platform and a tool for you to communicate your vision and capture that thinking. But the great thing about that, though, is it does scale. As you can see, we've got Cece's brain, up to 55,000 thoughts. We've got Jerry Mikulski's brain. I think he's now at 80 or 90,000. Any of you can go on the discussion board, and we have an area on thought statistics where people like to kind of show off how big some of their brains do get. But I think, what Cece is sharing with us is very insightful in terms of his reiterative process and his constant honing of these areas. And as you change the links, Conrad, do you find that your thinking changes, or you learn new things as you're building this type of structure?
Absolutely. One of the kind of nut and bolts challenges is that I find that I constantly have to subdivide the categories, because a brain plex can get too large and lose its power if it's 300 thoughts under one category. Is not that meaningful. On the other hand, you might notice that in the example of telemedicine that I showed you, it initially started out with just telemedicine. And then I realized that it had to be cut down into niches to be meaningful. So there's a constant evolution and refinement. One of the things I think that's going to be very useful in using a sight brain within the context of a community is now you're getting a lot of people that can comment and help and help to make that information, those thoughts, meaningful. It's very much like a human brain. We can dump all kinds of information into a human brain, but it's the neuronal networks and patterns that make someone brilliant. How do they process that information? There's an article that was very influential in this process for me in Scientific American called, if I recall, the article was called Secrets of the Expert Mind in August 2006. And it talked about how chess masters and expert surgeons become experts. And that what they did was it took them about 10 years of soaking in information, and then their brains over time began to organize. So that an expert surgeon, in contrast to a novice surgeon, does pattern recognition. And they can see and anticipate problems in a surgery that the novice cannot. Same thing with a chess grandmaster. And one of the things that excites me so much about the brain tool is that it allows that type of pattern recognition to emerge in a way that we have great difficulty doing within a carbon-based human mind, because we can't visualize everything the way that the brain does. I can see clusters in the brain plex that call for me to subdivide and organize that might just be a jumble in my human brain. So it accelerates the process of becoming an expert in the area.
And how does your community react, or has reacted so far, to your brains? Is there one particular brain that they gravitate to over the others, and what type of feedback have you gotten from your community and your business partners in showing your brain?
I think within the Medtech IQ community, it's too early to tell. They like the access to the brain, but I haven't employed yet the 4.5.1.6 personal brain with the sight brain transition that has search in it. One of the things that my community has asked for, and I really won't know, I think, how useful it is for the community as a whole until I upload the search.
Right.
And that's my fault. That's something that we are planning to do at Medtech IQ in the next week or so.
Sure, absolutely. And then there were a couple questions on a little bit more EKP related, but I think I'm going to address them because they speak to sort of categorizing large volumes. I think that Pravati had a question about, have you linked together different databases and sort of what capacity the brain technology has to do that. And so I'll just answer that real quick by saying CC and I, when within the Army Medical Research, did run a project where we were dynamically connecting to some relational databases, and that's something that can be done. This particular brain that we're showing today is CC's sight brain, but if you do have a database or multiple databases that you need to connect to, we have database mapping tools that enable you to do that, not just with one, but across several other databases. And then just to add to that question in terms of automating some content creation, Gary had a question on how ThoughtSeeker in Brain EKP would enhance Medtech IQ, and I'll just answer that real quick in terms of, ThoughtSeeker is a automatic categorization module that we have available for our enterprise platform, and that type of technology is great when you have a lot of existing information stored on file drives that you want to dynamically populate and maintain in your brain EKP. So if you do have, various repositories that need to be sort of more manually or actually automatically updated, that's where ThoughtSeeker could come into play in a structure like this. I guess where the automated tools won't help us is in capturing that knowledge and expertise, and no tool's really going to tell you exactly how to connect to people that you've just met. So really, I think the best approach to some of these projects is a real combination of automating and dynamically updating certain portions of a brain, and then in other cases enabling users like Conrad and experts to go in and then capture and get their knowledge into the system as well. And
someone asked to display the thoughts. So I just did a thought query so that people will be able, a statistics query. So that'll be up momentarily.
Okay, and while that's coming up, there's a question from Karen I want to get to, and her question to you is, do you use any standard lists to build your lists of thoughts? And if so, how do you keep them up to date? So I guess it's a question on sort of your references in creating your thought structure.
I think that's a great question. We don't at this point. Right now, we're depending on the subject matter knowledge of the partners of the Clyburn group and of our associates. I would suspect that a year or 2 years from now, as we develop this out further, that we will have, in essence, style guides for building the brain, specific databases that are monitored at certain time intervals. We'll build, I know that one of the things that always has intrigued me about the EKP and even the brain is that you can build, the personal brain, is that you can build feed into it in different ways. So those are things that are for the future. So I think Karen's question is a very insightful one, and it's one of the challenges and opportunities that we plan to tackle going forward.
Okay, great. And there was another question about what principles, if you have any sort of overarching or guiding principles that you use when you approach creating your brain and have used in the past in building some of the sections of your brain.
I would say an overarching one is that I think fundamentally the way that we've approached this is to put everything in it. Make everything available. There's a saying that Chris Anderson has from Wired, the Wired editor, in his book, The Long Tail. And that's a book that really has influenced us a great deal, along with Dan Tapscott's Wikinomics. But one of the things that Chris Anderson said is, as a theme for the future, is what people want is to make everything available and then help them to find it. So one principle I would say is don't constrain yourself. One of the beauties of the brain architecture is you can throw everything in it. The issue is then how do you focus and concentrate on how do you organize it once it's in there. So that's basically what we've done. We've thrown everything in it, but you have to have, I think, a powerful organizing framework to make it useful. And so I would say that the key to success in building big brains is to know thyself, to really think through how you want information organized. And once you have those frameworks, then throw everything in it, and it very rapidly becomes useful.
Excellent. And I do like that approach because I tend to follow that myself in terms of, just dragging and dropping any interesting article, whether it's on the Wall Street Journal or some far out blog, in my brain. And the great thing about it is then you can use the instant activate search just to get to it. And even if you have to move it around or make some additional connections later, but getting all your information in one place and then having the ability to sort of recontextualize it is pretty powerful. We have some other questions here about, a lot of people are asking about the next version of Personal Brain and importing capabilities. So let me just address that real quick before the hour. There will be the ability to mind map, to import older or existing mind maps that you have from other software. We do have a lot of people that are transitioning from other mind mapping software to the Personal Brain. That is something that is coming out in version 5. Version 5 is imminent. There's no official release date yet, so just have to check back on our site. And there are the versions of the software. There is a question from someone about Personal Brain Pro and future upgrades. Are they backwards compatible, and how they relate to Brain EKP? So I just want to let everyone know that Personal Brain Pro and all the versions can be imported in EKP, and version 4 and version 5, upcoming version, are backwards compatible. So everything will work pretty well for you in that capacity. Now, we have another question, Cece, and I know we're coming close to the hour, so I'll just try and get a few more of these in for you, from Gary, about how you maintain the currency of this information when people change jobs or lose elections.
Well, that's a good question. That's one of the things that motivated us to integrate the TheBrain into a social network. It was beyond our capacity to keep relevant visibility on all of the different venues that the brain touched upon that we had built. We don't think that we're that smart or have that wide a breadth of knowledge to be able to keep track of things. We're hoping that over time, the specialty groups that we have built within the social network will become active enough so that they, with their knowledge, their expert knowledge of their particular verticals, would populate the brain with fresh information that would continually updated and constantly expanded. That is a question as to whether that's going to happen. We built it, the social network, kind of on the Wikipedia model, where you have editors of specialty areas within Wikipedia, and the community actually does the updating of topics. So that's our approach going forward, is that we're not so concerned about the information always being 100% correct as much as we're looking for collective wisdom from the experts in the area. So that's our approach going forward, and we will have to measure going forward whether that's a workable solution to keeping things up to date.
That's really interesting. One of the things I really like about your brain when I click through your different brains on Medtech IQ is just the ability that I don't necessarily have a particular topic or idea. I know nothing about medical technology, but so I can just kind of come into your brain and click around and discover things that I would never think to search for something like teledentistry, but because it's linked to to some other company I might know or venture capital or that sort of thing, I'm really learning a lot and discovering information that I wouldn't otherwise have known to search for, just using a sort of black box search engine approach. Okay. Well, I just want to see if there are any other final questions. Some people have written in about how to reach you, and if they have any additional questions for you on your TheBrain or how they can join your online community. So if you could give us a little bit more background about what your online community, who it would be applicable for, and how they could join, and how they can get a hold of you for further questions, that would be great.
Absolutely. We can be reached at medtechiq.ning.com. What I can do, if you would agree, Shelley and Matt and Harlan, is we could put a link maybe on the Brain website for those that might be interested to connect directly to the social network. It's just a sign-up link that's on the upper right-hand corner. For those who are interested in signing up into the network. There's in beta form right now about 186 or so members. There are a mix of different disciplines and locations from around the world. We welcome everyone into the community and welcome their contribution. So it's Medtech, MEDTECH dot. Excuse me. Let me start all over. Medtech, MEDTECH IQ, one word, .NING.com. And there are a mix of people there now. There are computer scientists there. There are people who are medical researchers, investors, CEOs of companies, government program managers, and we have representation from all over North America, Africa, Europe, Asia. So I think we even have one member from New Zealand at this point. So it's a worldwide community, and we welcome your engagement.
Great. And for those of you that need that information, again, feel free to email me, and we will post something on our own website and blog, so you can get to all of CC's TheBrains. And I think with that, we're on the hour. I will just thank you on behalf of myself and all the users for your time and your very in-depth look at your brain and your processes behind creating them. And with that, I don't know if you have any closing remarks or any final messages or tips that you want to leave our personal brain users with before we close our session today, Conrad.
Yeah, well, I just enjoyed being a part of the Brain community, and I wish TheBrain Technology Inc. Good fortunes as you go forward, and look forward to working with you to develop this approach to creating, discovering, managing, and sharing information. So thank you very much for the invitation. It's been my pleasure, and if there's any questions that anyone has, if they could get them to you, I will respond to each of them personally.
Great. Well, thank you. And for those of you that need to step back and learn a little bit more about the basics of thought creation and how to get started on your brain, I do want to let you know that we have Personal Brain 101 every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, so join us tomorrow for that. And next week, we have a seminar on using your brain for self-learning and how the software can actually make you smarter. We've got a little glimpse of that today, so feel free to join us next week on Wednesday, October 29th for that seminar. You can sign up for that on my site. And again, I'd like to thank all of you for the number of questions and participation and for your time today. And again, special thanks to Conrad Clyburn from Medtech IQ. And thanks to everyone, and have a great day.
Okay, take care.